So what can the 500 members expect?
They can expect a very high-end virtual reality techno gym. They can expect the best.
Welcome to the Beyond Tomorrow podcast. My guest today is David Lloyd, the founder of David Lloyd Clubs, the leading fitness and wellness group in Europe. He is also a former British Davis Cup tennis captain. In this episode, we cover David's unique story in both tennis and business, how he thinks the wellness and fitness industry has shifted over the last few decades, and how he thinks it's going to change beyond tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed yet, please feel free to hit the button. It makes a huge difference as we're just kickstarting this podcast. I hope you enjoy the episode. Let's dive in. David, thank you so much for being here today with me. I'm very excited to hear and get our listeners to really hear about your story. There are very few people that can claim to be a former professional tennis player and also a successful business person as well. What magical formula do you think you had that allowed you to be successful in two places?
Like you hear that story, you say, oh, you've heard it. I heard it many times when I was playing, sportsmen can't do any business. I mean, it's sort of like it was a thing everybody used to say. But when I played, I did everything myself. I organised all my tickets, my trips, foreign currency. In those days, we didn't have the euro. So every time you played in a different country in Europe, you had to know the difference between a guilder, a franc, and a Deutschmark, and a Swiss franc. And I used to take dresses and rackets and gut and these to sell, because obviously at that time the Deutschmark was so strong. I could take things from Britain and sell them into a shop at a higher price than we could actually buy it in there. So I just learned really, and I just loved it, and so I did everything myself. So I just saw these beautiful clubs around the world where people were enjoying everything, and it wasn't just tennis or it wasn't just squash. It was a sporting city where people had a great time, families met, people came there to meet other people. And I thought, I must do this. We haven't got any. And so it started in Canada, where I ran the club as a head pro, and I thought, I must do this. And so from that moment on, which was 1975, wherever I went playing my tennis, I made sure I went to the best clubs, and I asked all the questions, and I bumped everybody to find as many answers as I could, and then put it all together and made sure, or tried to make sure, that we could open the dream club, which was my dream. But it was very much harder than I had imagined.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine just being a former founder myself, just how difficult the founder journey is, especially raising capital at the beginning. When you were pitching David Lloyd Clubs initially to investors, were they drawn to your proposition of melding fitness and community and all this?
Well, no, I mean, this was 1982, so no one knew indoor tennis, and they certainly didn't know indoor health and leisure in that stage. I mean, the spas and stuff. So they looked at me very strangely, I have to say, and they said, where did you go to school? And of course I left school at 15. Where did you go to university? So I didn't. So they looked at me like I just landed from outer space, to be quite honest. But being a tennis player, being a one-to-one sport, you have to learn to take the knocks, and you have to learn to stand up. Otherwise you don't make a living, you couldn't play. So I never gave in, and I just kept knocking on the doors. And eventually one of the private equity houses saw what I saw, and we're still friends to this day. It's a chap called Ian Taylor from Midland Montague. They don't exist anymore, and he believed in it, and we put it together. And it took a lot of heartbreaks and a lot of soul searching, but lucky my wife and family, they saw the picture and they encouraged me not to give in. So then it opened, and then from there on minute, everyone said, "Oh, this is easy." Yeah. So it was yeah.
Now, fitness has changed a lot since 1982. I can imagine what people were looking for back then, the physique, the reason for going to the gym was very different.
Totally.
What was motivating the individual back in the 80s?
I think ours was more of a it was a sporty city under one roof. So we had, and when we opened, we didn't have a big gym. We had a small gym. We didn't have a swimming pool, and we were full but losing money because you couldn't charge the fee just for one element, one sport, which was we had two. We had squash as well, and so it quickly evolved that we had to do other things, and obviously the gym came because in a gym, a 10,000 square foot gym is 1.5 tennis courts. But a 10,000 square foot gym can get 4,000 members. 1.5 tennis courts can only get 50. So it wasn't brain surgery that realised you had to put them all in one, under one roof. The problem was obviously the capital costs went up, but it worked straight away, and it combined very well. So the gyms in those days, we used a company called Life Fitness and Nautilus, which was the one that everybody wanted, which built the muscles and all that. So it completely changed. It wasn't the technology, it was muscle building, really. Yeah. And you did it yourself. Now you can watch the TV on it, you can have music, all the things you have, as you know. And it's changing by the day with AI, and the technological advances of gym equipment is enormous. It's enormous.
I think there was a saying back in, well, it's a saying that I knew when I was growing up, which was live fast, die young. But now things have changed tremendous. It is so much more about healthy living and healthy inside and out, right?
Yeah. I mean, from when we opened in 1982, every year something was different. And that's why David Lloyd Leisure was successful and still is successful. The ethos of that was to change as quickly as the market changed. And so in a lot of cases, we were the market leaders, so we changed the market. We saw the trend coming, and we added it. Like the spas, like all the different things with the spas, all the different treatments, and all the different things. I mean, now it's who would imagine in 1982 that you would dive into an ice bucket, to have a cryo machine that's a minus X degrees, and you're being for a minute, and that supposedly makes you lose weight. You wouldn't, no one could have foreseen that. And then of course diets came along, and then you have you suddenly the health, the fitness side became the health side, and so it goes on and on and on. And it's just every day is changing. It's an amazing marketplace, and the difference. I mean, in 1982, there weren't many men that took the care of their skins and things that they do today. I mean, the male products for skin and health and this and that. It's always hair loss and all that. He's gone into many other things. So it's not just women, it's everybody. They are really taking care of their bodies.
Let's fast track to today. So David Lloyd Leisure Centres in the hundreds, in the thousands?
That's 109, I think, around the world.
109 now. So you've built a very successful business, which you are still part of?
No, my son is, my eldest son, Scott. He's still a director. He was chief executive up until about 4 years ago, when he became chief executive of the LTA, which is the Lawn Tennis Association. And he's bought. He grew up around tennis. I mean, I can remember going to playing in the Davis Cup when he was this high, and he used to come and watch, and he now runs it, and British tennis, with Andy Murray and anyone else. I mean, just today, it's the world record number of Brits who won the first round of the Australian Open, and that's 6 people through. And so, he's bringing to the game something A, love of it, and B, the knowledge that he basically from a 5-year-old kid on how to make the game friendly, how to get more people playing. Because if you don't get people playing, then you're never going to get the pyramid at the top higher. And so it's a mathematical equation, really. Base bigger, top higher.
For sure. In terms of the market of, let's say, high-end gyms or gyms that give you a bit extra rather than just the weights, it seems to be ballooning now. You've got the high-intensity interval training gyms all over London. You've got Third Space and some other more high-end gyms coming into the market or increasing their market share. How does a gym, whether it's in the UK or the US or in the Gulf, differentiate itself, especially at the high end now? What are you seeing being added that the customer is desiring or wanting more from their experience?
I think now you can have a complete different spread. I mean, the David Lloyd model, now motto was, it was 5-star facilities and the 3-star price. I mean, that was a motto, like a Marks and Spencer's motto, basically. But that's changed. Now, I mean, for David Lloyd, I'm reading that, and I think it's absolutely the right move. They are upgrading and changing and going with all the new equipment on the health and spa bit, and that's right. I mean, if you've got, they've got to have something like 1 million members. If you've got 1 million members coming into your club, I mean, you should be giving them all the possibilities of the health, everything related, rather than just to one thing. So, I see a lot of more chances of making a very high end gym as well, where everything is in the membership price. Call it a platinum club, call it a 500 club, whereby you pay a high fee, but everything is included and it's exclusive. And really, the equipment is second to none, and people don't have to keep putting hours, £5 for that, £10 for that. There's a market for that, but that's a very specific market. It has to be more downtown, probably more in obviously a wealthy area, but smaller. I see that. And what's happened all over the world as well, not just here, but mainly and in America as well, is the 24-hour type gym where it's basic. I mean, you come in, there's no one there, you get a code, you come in and off you do. So there is a big spread now between the bottom and the top, and both have a place.
Yeah.
But when that happens, sometimes in all businesses, when you have a bottom and a top, the middle sometimes gets squeezed. So you've got to be careful. But I think there's so many opportunities, and everybody wants to be fit. Everybody wants to be good looking. Everybody wants to keep their hair. So there is a place for everybody.
It feels like social media has played a big part in that, right? Instagram, TikTok, people are constantly looking at their faces. We had the Zoom effect during COVID when we were looking at our faces, and that's why we saw an increase of Botox and double fillers. What is the next step in the fitness journey? I know you are involved, or you're looking to stay involved. Even after having a successful journey with David Lloyd, you're looking at future ventures, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And so what opportunity are you seeing now? You've got, again, the low-end market, Planet Fitness in the US, and then you've got the mid-market being squeezed, but then you've got the high-end, so Equinox in the US, and Third Space in the UK, and David Lloyd in the UK as well.
I think the David Lloyd model maybe in some, I would call it 4-star, make it 5-star. But again, the other thing that is more in America than here is that within the club you have doctors. Nowadays, I mean, I had a cartilage out when I was 19. I was in bed in a plaster for 7 days. When I took the plaster off, my leg looked like a stick. So now they get you out of bed straight away. They walk you down the steps next day. So it's changed, and now that the doctors will change again. They're no different than anyone else. It's now get them out of bed quick, make them exercise. So there is, in my opinion, a big possibility of increasing what is in the unit, not just the beauty, the recovery, anti-aging pills and all that sort of stuff. It's a gigantic market, and the club concept surely is the place it should be because you know everybody. So I see little add-ons keep coming, and virtual reality training. I mean, you can prove that in some sports you can improve as much with virtual reality training as you can on a big, for example, basketball. Basketball's a big court, but you nowadays you can prove it. I mean, it it, it takes away the space, and suddenly you can get 6 or 7 of them, and these TrackMan machines. I mean, they're doing everything now, and so it's changing by the day. Um, and that's why you're going to be careful, because obviously an investor coming in suddenly puts all this beautiful kit, and then in a week's time it's out of date. So you have to that could become a problem. Same thing happened all those years ago with Betamaxes and cassettes, and it would tell you all the time.
So if I was to go into your crystal ball and look at the fitness industry or the fitness concepts with the aesthetic side of things and also the longevity side of things and the longevity pills and all that, where do you see it being in, let's say, in 2030?
I've always been a great believer in having as many things as related under one roof. So I, I see it being a very big part in one unit, and yes, the fees will go up, but they will be getting everything under one roof, so they won't have to go there and there. I mean, I went to the dentist today, and dentists used to pull teeth out and clean teeth, etc., etc. But now they do Botox, they do this, they do that, and it's coming. I mean, and people don't want to keep; they want one place, and they trust. I mean, David Lloyd brand, they trust the brand. When you trust a brand, you can add another coach to the coat hanger, and that's what I would do. And I would go big on it.
Because there are quite a lot of cowboys, charlatans in this space, so I think trust is
Absolutely. And then, retention, in the old days when we started, and they said, oh, you can't last. And by the time we got to 9 clubs, they realized that we were quite good at what we did. So suddenly, the Virgins came in and something else came in. But our offering, the David on Leisure offering, it was bigger than just the other thing they have achieved, and they're still achieving it, is the fact it's a place to come. You can go down for a cup of coffee. I mean, it is a place to be. It's got nice surroundings, and you can do your business there. That's how I see the world going.
I think this is a great interlude, actually. You mentioned business, and I remember being a David Lloyd member for many years and saying that doing my work on my laptop. But another thing that people are far more aware of is community building and socializing and meeting new people. And as you get older into your 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe those opportunities of meeting new people becomes less. Can a leisure centre be a place of community building, not just the people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, but also for the elderly as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's where we were very, very, very good. And I don't go down there much now, but I'm sure they still are, where you have your club nights, you had your community, and you make people feel, I mean, we had an incredible success with celebrities. I mean, and massive, massive stars. I mean, Elton Johns and Cliff. I mean, massive people, all loving the sport, coming and having a cup of coffee around the people, and they weren't ever part of the club. They were a member. And it just created something very special, and it still is special. And I think that, to me, is what makes a success of a club, where people want to come, they go down to meet, it's social, and the club has to be able to put, for example, you may let them, let's say, a 70-year-old, 75-year-old, you've got to be able to put them together with someone else so they even play tennis, and that's important for the club to have departments within the club to be able to do that.
Let's talk a bit more about AI and wearables and virtual reality and its part in sports. I feel we've on here and I measure myself or try and measure myself as much as possible. But what role do you think it's going to play in the fitness industry, and what sort of partnerships can you see coming out as well?
I think it can be enormous. I mean, I can't believe some of the things that these things do. I mean, it is. I had a dinner party the other night in America, and they don't really know me there, and I had a lovely meal with a ex Morgan Stanley banker. And he knew about me because I gave him a book I'd written anyway. He said, "Oh, I didn't know you did that." So he said, "Oh, look at this." He said, "Just got this out." So got his phone out, and it's an AI app. So all he did, he just typed in David Lloyd. That's all he did. Nothing else. Because I was a tennis player, nothing. And within 1 minute, he had a poem about me. And it had all the facts once those club was opened in 1 minute. And it was, I could have spent 3 months writing it. And in 1 minute, someone somewhere, something, wrote a poem about me and the clubs. And I'm thinking, so it's unlimited. I don't know where it's going to take us. I mean, I don't. I mean, I think we've got to embrace it rather than do all the negatives. I think we've got to, we obviously got to be controlled, but yeah, it's the same with the virtual reality in training. I've seen it. And you can prove it. You can prove it with static game, like not static, but shooting up a bucket at basketball or snooker. You can prove that you can improve as much with virtual reality than actually playing and practicing.
Yeah.
Which, so the whole world's going to change.
I think that whether it's ChatGPT or the large language model is lucky that it's dealing with a David Lloyd, because there's a lot of information about you online.
I knew it had the capability, but then when you see something like that, which is probably just a gimmick, but it did it, you think, well, what else can it do? And it must be able to analyze players. I mean, you could obviously send all the old matches or where the weakness is, so it will come out. You still got the ability to do it, because not everyone has the Djokovic is the greatest tennis player probably of all time, because his mental side is the strongest of all time, and therefore he has something like, I think Murray's going to do very well with him, because Murray will bring something to him that a present day player, where Lendl, who was very good, and Becker's very good, but they're not a present day player. So when you're a present day player, you've played a different game to what I played. So he'll come at Djokovic from an angle that he's never had before.
No.
And I think Djokovic is good enough and brave enough to take that on. At the moment, he can't beat Sinner. I mean, Sinner's killed him the last 4 times. So he has to change his game. And Murray, I think, will say to him something, I don't know what you're going to say, but it will be something he's not done before. And Djokovic is good enough and mentally strong enough to do it, even if it doesn't work at the beginning. And I think they do okay.
Yeah. You're kind of touching on a point here, which is the constant need to change, in whether it's in sport, but also in business, right? And let's take it back to your career, and some of the. Maybe can you share some of the experiences? I know before we started, you were talking about your experience playing a tournament in Lebanon, wasn't it? At the dawn of the Civil War, right?
Yeah, we had some great experience. I mean, I love Lebanon, and I actually was playing. It was in Beirut, and it was in the most beautiful club in the mountains. And the centre court was sort of sunken between walls, and they all had good players. It was after Wimbledon, and we had a great time there. They were after us, etc. I happened to get to the final. I beat Coders, which to me is probably one of my best results on clay, and I got injured. Well, I played off, but I smacked my arm, blood was bleeding, and so that next day after it, wherever I was walking in Beirut shopping, they came out with this thick coffee, which I quite like, but I mean, it was like treacle. I mean, stand a spoon up, but you drank it. But then when we were playing, though, you could see the bombs and the lights going all over the city because we were high up. And we got out the day before it closed down. So, it was a great experience in one way, but a very sad experience in another way, because it was such a, the pink, politics, everyone was having a great time. Next day, they were killing each other, and it was tragic. And I actually also was the national coach to Israel. They offered me the job, and I was there in the summer, hot, August in Tel Aviv is hot, believe me. And it was great. And you had a country then of 1 million people, and they had some great little players. And I found some players, Mansdorf, who got to top 10 of the world, and I loved it. But I had a young family. Scott was only one, born in 75. And I thought, can I really make this my life, where anywhere everyone's carrying guns, you go into a cinema and the guys have got guns outside. And so in those days, I could play in the winter and work somewhere in the off season. And so I thought, I can't do it. And I still keep in touch, and it was a lovely experience. But I thought, what, I just can't grow up in the fact that you don't know what's going to happen next day. So we left, but I still keep in touch, and I still keep in touch with all the people there. They did great. I mean, for a country so small, only 1 million people at the time, they became a very good tennis mission. Yeah.
Is there something about being a tennis player? It's a pretty lonely pursuit. You're traveling around the world. I'm assuming going to tournaments, especially when you're lower ranked, right? And then you're meeting people from so many different cultures. So you're kind of immersing yourself in newness all the time. Is there something, was there a seed that was sown that then gave David Lloyd Leisure Centres the social aspect?
I was a sponge. Yeah. Wherever I went before we built the club, it doesn't matter where I was, I went to the clubs and I asked questions. People, this chap asked all these questions because, in the end of the day, I had the luck, in a way, with my job, to see fantastic clubs. And we played at the best clubs. We played at the best indoor clubs. We played at the best outdoor clubs. So if you cherry pick, it was only my opinion, which happened, tough wood, to turn out in most cases right. It was my opinion what made one different to another. But at least I had the opportunity to do it. And, I must have 100 clubs. I don't know how many clubs I went to, and picked the best bits, the membership profile, how they got their kids to play, what type of food the members wanted, the way the door was. And you learn quick. And could not having gone to school I left at 15 at university. I didn't have a educational training. So my training was gut instinct and hard work and sponge and trying it, and then a lot failed. But if you don't give in, then you're going to find one that works. And so we put all these together, and it was my whole aim to make sure the club was friendly. And people said I was nuts. For example, Heston had a sunken fireplace, and it was beautiful. And they could work it out in Glasgow, that's fine. As in London, in Glasgow, I put an outdoor pool that was heated all year round. They thought I was nuts. When I went into the building hut, all pictures were caricatures of me dressed as a polar bear, because they said, no, I'm swimming in Glasgow in the winter, that'd be stupid. But they did, and they still do. And so when I went to Australia, when we started there, the first thing I put in the plan was a sunken fireplace. And they said, you're nuts, it's hot here, it's 40 degrees outside. I said, you watch. So you go there now, Adelaide, you go there now, sunken fireplace every evening will be packed.
So it's about understanding people.
And it's creating, where you want a nice bottle of wine, it's still got air conditioning because it's a gas fire, you got air conditioning, you sit around the fire. So it's the hub of the club. Yeah. And those things go with it. And that's the whole, I found that from this club I ran in Canada. It was built to keep people there. It was built to get them to know people. It was built so they had fun, not just played tennis and beat the hell out of each other. It was fun. I mean, and that's what I really tried to do, and touch what it worked pretty well.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're enjoying the podcast so far, please feel free to hit the subscribe button below. It makes a huge difference. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Beyond Tomorrow podcast. This is the title of the podcast, and it's really about unraveling the people, the innovations, and the ideas that are going to change our tomorrow for the better. If you were advising a budding young founder who's looking to set up a fitness business, maybe a wearable business or something in the fitness and health space, what parting advice would you give to them?
On the financial side, which I'm the opposite. Most people, when they do their business plan, overestimate their income and underestimate their costs. So I tell everybody, put 10% less on your income and 10% more on your costs. And then if it still stacks up, don't let anyone dissuade you from doing it, because it's your dream. You can make it happen, and you can. And so that's the financial side. But on the concept side, they really got to they got to have the guts to really look at it and pull the best things together under one roof. I'm a great believer in as many great things in one place. It costs more money, and sometimes it's, I was the chairman of a company it was actually called Boom Cycle. And when I took it over, I told the two young starters, who are great people, Rob and Hillary, that it can't stack up just with cycles. I mean, the cycle craze will change. You won't be able to keep up with the marketplace because the bike will be outdated. And so you've got to incorporate other things. And so we then changed it, and then we brought other things in. So now Business is United Fitness, which has boxing, it has everything else. So they've done that. I left because I went one step further, and this was 3 years ago, and I think I was right, and I think it's proved to be right. I told them they had to add the health side. They had to add the skincare that they had. They had to. They had the members, high quality, and they didn't. They said no, not doing that. So I left. And you know what? I think they'd be left behind, because people will.
It seems like a low-hanging fruit, the Botox, the esthetician side of things, bolting that on. If you've got a captive audience that already are engaging with your product and trust you,
and they like you, and if they like you and respect what you're doing, then you can do it one step further. And you can, and they want it. I mean, so I really went into it in a big way, and I think it is a big way. And it is, if you go into the men's change room at Wimbledon, all the ladies, if you get in, but if you go in for the men's, every single player will be either in an ice bucket or walking now with ice strapped on every bone in their body. Ice goes with fitness. I mean, it is. I mean, you've got big ice buckets in, you go straight in there. And so you've got to give the people what they want. I mean, you don't have to be a pro tennis player to be able to look after your body. And if you played 2 hours of tennis at a David Lloyd Club or any other pub, and you really tried hard, you need to be refreshed. The ice bath is the answer. So that you have to do it.
So you've got ice bath. The ice bath craze has been happening over the last few years. Wim Hof has definitely helped publicize that. But what do you think will be the next step in the space?
I think whatever you do, you've got to be looking at that. In your model for your fitness club, for want of a better word, you need to be looking at all the outside things. I would, in the bigger clubs, I would 100% do take-home food. 100%. Diet-related food. You're there. You're at the club. We got the kitchen. It isn't brain surgery. These people, it's in America, it's gigantic business where food is delivered to your door. If you remember a club, 4,000 members, you don't have to be delivered, you just take it home. And so there's enormous markup. And then you've got the gym guy then he should be liaising with the food guy to make sure that what they do packaged together. Let's say, for example, it's they need body mass. Well, you've got the dietitian in this, and you've got the guy there in the gym. So if you combine the two, you've got a win-win. And I really think that's a big market.
So you are in the process of launching a premium club or premium experience in Dubai, right?
Yes, we were looking at several sites in Dubai and one here in Britain, where, again, it's just taking the concept one step further, where it's all inclusive. And yes, it's going to be high membership fee, but if you add up what you spent on all the individuals, it will be less. So yeah, I'm just a great believer in when you come there, have a whole. That's why day spas are so good now and so popular. You get in and dine, this and that. And I believe that concept is what, and we're going to call it the 500 Club. So it'll be 500 memberships, and they will be treated to your very best facilities under one roof, indoor and outdoor. And I think it's a model that will. Yes, we have to pick a location, right? We have to do that, anyway. I learned very young from a very famous house builder called Lloyd, and he just said, location, location, location. He's right. If you don't have the right location, even if your concept management is great, you won't be as successful if it's in the right place. And demographics play an enormous part of that. Again, your AIs and all that, they will help. I mean, we took the same computerized program to Australia, wherever we go, to give us the demographic profile of drive times. It's all drive time, because people are conscious of time, and we plug that in where we went. And if it didn't reach the number, then we didn't do it.
So you think that is the key metric in this space?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, if you're in the city centre, you will go there in lunchtime.
Yeah.
So it's a slightly different, but the demographic profile, wherever you start a business, it doesn't matter if it's sport, restaurant, anything, has to be done. I mean, or you have to do what we call the destination, and then it has to be totally different and 20-star. If you're going to build a Michelin restaurant 3-star, you can go outside into lovely countryside, but it has to have your Michelin star. I'm not going to, why don't we go for fish and chips? That's what I did. I mean, I was, I had a feeling for it. Like, I used to spend hours and hours in the car driving round, stopping up at a local pub or local restaurant and just saying, what do you think of a new club code there? And and some would look in, club or gym, what are you talking about? So I did it by actually asking questions. Yeah. And then eventually you built up a package. And in a way, I was my own AI. I wrote my own data. And then we created that data. We created a data not only for that, but also for the size. I mean, hotels know exactly what the size of the room should be for the number of people. The clubs are the same. The changing rooms with the number of showers have to be X size to cater with Y members.
So what can the 500 members expect?
They can expect a very high-end virtual reality techno gym. They can expect the best manicures, pedicures, whatever, skin treatment, longevity pills, diet, the whole caboodle, injections, whatever.
On that, as in all included?
It's all included.
Okay, so it's end to end.
End to end. End to end fitness, fun, and health.
And why 500?
Because it has to be exclusive to be able to make it work both financially, and it doesn't matter where you are. I couldn't do that model, and if my capital costs meant I had to get 10,000 members, I couldn't get 10,000 guys. So it has to be a specific. So they're not going to roll out as quick as a 24-hour fitness gym.
Yeah.
But but I think they will fill a market that, yes, it's high end, but as I say, anyone who is into that health and beauty and all that sort of stuff, if they add up what they spend, it will be actually less than what they will spend at the 500 club.
Because you have longevity clinics now that are charging anywhere up to £50,000, $60,000-$70,000 a year.
It'd be less than that, but I mean, I think you can do it. You would include that within it.
Okay.
But it will, you would have not a bit of it. I mean, it will be included, and it will be big enough to take that in. So at the moment, the building's 10,000 square feet, for example. That's what the model is throwing out at me, indoor and outdoor. But maybe it will be 15,000 square feet when you actually come to it, because the longevity goes with everything else. It'll fit in. It's all part of the jigsaw. I want a full jigsaw. I don't want a missing piece.
When does the 500 Club become democratized? Do you think at some point it's just going to become more scalable to every person, or do you think there's just going to be a further divide where you have the premium end for people that really care about their health, will have the income, and then gyms for people that just want to stay fit, right?
Yes, I think there's always going to be people. But now, and I mean, one of the biggest problems with our type of club or whatever is separating the bodybuilders to the and that's a problem, because some people just want to build up bulk, and they're very different to the people who just want to have the aerobic exercise. And there already is that divide, and now the gym clubs like the Baby or whatever, what you do is you build nice little walls and you demark them, and so it's already happening. But I mean, it does happen, and you have kids gyms, and you have some of the women don't want to work out with them in it. So that's already in the system. So you have to get some wrong. All I'm saying is I think there is I've seen it where people are queuing up to get on their crowds, they're queuing up to get their Botox, they're queuing up to get their the health injections, and so they are queuing up anyway. So what I'm saying is make it in one club, one place, and 10 star and diets.
As we wrap up, just a piece of advice that you give to someone who's looking to embrace their health fitness journey today. What is the one thing they should do?
I think to get the benefit and to benefit from what the club offers, they really have to be happy in their environment. And some people don't want to sit and have a cup of coffee. They want out quick. So that's their fitment, whatever. And some people do. So I think they've got to really be choosy and shop around for the one they want. And you've got great choices now.
Right.
And that's up to them. I mean, at the end of the day, I used to say, if anybody didn't enjoy getting up in the morning and coming to work at what they did, then they leave. And it's the same with the clubs. If your exercise, yes, it's hard work, but you've got to enjoy doing it. Not when you're actually probably pumping up, but you've got to enjoy the experience before and after. I've done that today. Now, so you've got to get that. You've got to get satisfaction after the event and before. During, maybe you think, what am I doing?
Brilliant. And then finally, about investors. So someone looking to invest in this space, like what piece of advice would you give to them?
I just think you've got to really believe in it and do your sums. As I say, make sure you devalue your income and put up your costs. And then after that, if it's a new idea, you can remember 1982, nothing, there wasn't one. So they all looked at me like I had landed from space.
Nay.
But I'd done my homework. I'd be all over the world. And I said, well, why would Canada, why would it be working? Why would Holland have 5 times the number of indoor clubs? Paris had 2,000 indoor clubs when I started. You only had 70 in Britain. Wow. And so no one could put me off. And that was the key. And if they'd really have an idea, keep going. You'll get a break.
The beauty of having a global perspective and seeing lots of things, right? The fact that you had experienced Paris and see probably all these indoor clubs yourself during your tennis playing days, and it's probably a call to go out there and see what else is in the world.
Oh, they must. I mean, sorry. I mean, you're right. Yeah, that was in that. It was one of the last questions. They should be googling and seeing as many things as they can, and then putting their perspective on what they see, because they can improve it, and that's what I'm trying to say. And then take that off, and off they go. So you absolutely, you've got to try into it.
Yeah, there's a book called Idea Flow, which kind of links into that. It's like you're leaning into your experiences as well, and looking at what else is going on in the world. David, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate everything, all the insights, the stories, the anecdotes as well. And is there anything else you want to?
No, I enjoy talking about. I mean, it's I'm passionate about it. I mean, my big belief is that in long-term financial situations, everything under one roof, one shop, shopping, if you want to call it like that. We're a sporting city without a golf course, basically. I personally think that's, and family, man. I think that's the way to go.
And it seems just harder these days because it means more capital, right? We're here trying to put every age into one roof, and that in itself creates this kind of moat.
Yes, it does. And they're amazing. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that is a problem. But then, they've got to be, the person who doesn't do that and has a smaller one, they've got to be aware that whatever they're doing, they make like pickleball or padel, catches on, as it is, then if a big one comes, they're then mirrored. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And so that, and pickle in America is like that, padel in Europe is like that. And, there's going to be pickle and padel clubs with all, and that's basically what we're doing now, is the model with the adventure parks is not membership. You've got 500 Club, which is membership. The pickle and padel, I don't believe is a membership model. I think it's a pay-as-you-play model. So you had lots of other things around it. They're noisy games, very noisy games. That's why you could have all the kids' things, because they're making a noise too. Where in a club you can't. With tennis, when I play tennis, if someone placked out a tune, I thought, "Oh, what's he doing?" So the world's changed. So a David Lloyd club can add pickle and padel, fine, but to start a business from scratch for pickle, I'm not sure a membership model stacks hard, because there's not enough else to do. So I think and that's what we're doing, and it's what we're calling sports gardens. And so you've got pickle, padel, you've got go-karting, you've got zip lines, you've got roller gliders, you've got bouncy castles, trampolines, great food, all in a, even the indoor ones, you walk in, you're in a garden.
Yeah.
Everything's green, you've got palm trees, you've got mobile diners that are serving 5-star street food, which is the in thing, and it's the thing to stay. All fun. So you walk in, you could be sitting on a synthetic grass. Imagine it's grass under a picnic, watching some kids smack a pickleball court. In this side, you got virtual basketball, all under one roof. And I just think that's the way to go.
Thanks, appreciate that. Is there a pickleball or a paddle or an ice bath craze that you have seen that's going to come up nowhere in the next year?
Well, no, they're all doing it individually again. So that's why I'm trying to raise, which we're nearly there, to do it all under one roof. Of course, it's their money.
But is there a sport or something?
No, pickling, but I mean, someone I spoke to an Indian the other day, who was a kind of famous Indian tennis player. And he was saying they're building, at the moment, 100 new pickleball courts every day.
Well, in India.
In India.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Beyond Tomorrow podcast. Your support helps this journey reach more people. So if you've enjoyed it, please share, subscribe, or leave a review. See you next time.